Oh, hi there. Sorry, I didn't see you there. I was just reading a Nat Geo article about Ecuadorian tiger beetles. So cool. So, hey guys, so nice to meet you. I'm Mrs. Hallman. I wanted to take an opportunity just to introduce myself and also introduce the course that we're going to be embarking upon together. I'm so excited, guys. I know that this year looks a little bit different and that your whole school experience is going to be a little bit different. But one thing that doesn't change is that here at Suburban, we really care about you guys as students and as individuals, and that's especially true in this class. So today what I'd like to do is just take a couple minutes of your time to explain who this crazy person is in front of you and also where we're going to be going together in this classroom called biology. So please allow me to share a little bit about this year that we're going to be learning together. So I'm going to share my screen and you guys should be able to see kind of a year at a glance. So the first thing I wanted to do is just kind of introduce who I am. Okay, so my name is Erica Hallman. I graduated from Millersville University with a degree in biology education and a chemistry minor. And since then, I've graduated with my master's degree in biology from St. Joseph's University. But enough about me. For this class, and we'll get into all of these details later, but just as a little snippet, for this class, there are 3 main websites that you're going to be using to kind of keep yourself digitally organized. The first one is, of course, Schoology, and you guys have been introduced to this years and years and years ago if you were a York Suburban student. If you're new to the district, absolutely no worries. We'll get you introduced to Schoology. It's kind of our home base that we use to jump off into our other platforms, all right? The other thing you should know is that I organize my entire class on what I call a daily planner. So this daily planner is going to include every day of class, what we do. I am 100% digital, that anything that you receive online, or if we do go back in the building on paper, is linked here and you have access to that. And it will always include homework and upcoming dates, okay? More on that a little bit later. And of course, the third website would be IC. So Infinite Campus is going to be how we grade your work and where you're going to be able to kind of get more information about your GPA and scheduling and things like that. So again, just a little introduction. We will get to all of that stuff later together. All right, so what I wanted to do is just kind of introduce you to this juicy, delicious year of biology that we have together by kind of doing a very, very brief run through of our units. So the first unit we're going to dive into is, oh, it's such a good unit. So it's called Basic Biological Principles. And the cool thing about this unit is that we're going to introduce you to the basic nature of science. We'll talk a little bit about the metric system and experimentation. Our labs for this unit are going to look a little bit different because a lot of them are going to be digital and virtual. But our in-class labs, this is when we actually start to handle animals, all right? Because this is bio class, you have to use life. So we're going to be doing experiments with mice, we'll do experiments with bugs, get your hands on some real science. Our second unit, oh my gosh, favorite unit, is called biochemistry. So if you break that word apart, biology and chemistry put together. We'll learn about the chemistry of how you are made up, what makes you you, the tiny little building blocks that make up all living things. Our next unit is called cells. All right, so structure and function. You got a brief introduction to this in 7th grade, but a lot of things in this class, even though you've had an introduction, we're gonna bump things up to the high school level of rigor and expectation. So yeah, you might have learned that the mitochondria is the what? Oh yeah, for sure, the powerhouse of the cell. But we'll take that, we'll expand upon that, and we'll learn a little bit more detail about how all those organelles work together. We'll also spend a lot of time talking about bacteria and viruses because they're a little bit different than the eukaryotes you might have learned about in 7th grade. All right, 4th unit, such a cool unit. So homeostasis just means how we stay alive. How do we keep balance, right? So we'll talk about how your cells maintain balance. We'll talk about why is it that your skin wrinkles when you spend too long in the tub? Why is it you can actually be poisoned by water? And I'll show you how to take the shells off of eggs without breaking them. In our 5th unit together, bioenergetics, such a cool unit. So if you can see the word energy in that word. So energy flowing through living things is what this unit is all about. We'll learn a little bit about that lovely, lovely topic of photosynthesis. We'll talk about cell respiration. We'll also talk about why beans make you fart, why it is that your muscles burn when you work out, and why it is that yeast is so stinky when it ferments. In our 6th unit together, it's called cell growth and reproduction. So again, in 7th grade and other science classes that you might have had before, you might have learned about that term called mitosis, or maybe even meiosis. So that's great. We're going to take that idea of how cells grow, how they divide, how you make more cells. We're going to expand on that, bring it up to the high school level, and we're going to add in what happens when that process goes wrong, right? So what causes cancer? What are the different types of cancer? You guys will research cancer. And we'll also talk about the flip side of that. So cancer is when cells divide too much when you don't want them to. But how is it that we as biologists get cells to divide when they don't divide? So talk about these things called stem cells and how we apply stem cell therapy. There's such delicious science happening with this right now that we're going to get into some really current issues, which is just amazing. Oh my gosh, 7th unit, favorite unit, DNA unit. I'm a molecular biologist at heart, so I love DNA. So we'll talk about structure, we'll talk about what it does in your body. There's some gnarly science happening right now in the field of molecular biology. So we'll talk about DNA and how we're able to manipulate that, how we're able to cut it, move it around, splice it. And we'll also talk about how that DNA manifests. So what does that DNA look like when you inherit it and then express that as proteins and traits, which brings us to Unit 8. Genetics essentially is just DNA being expressed. So how is it that the traits that you see on the outside of you, or maybe even in the inside of you, how did you get them? All right, you obviously got them from your mom and your dad, but how did those genes get transferred to you? And how were those different things expressed? Our 9th unit, oh my gosh, favorite unit. So essentially, evolution is just genetics over a long period of time. So how is it the genes that you have give you an advantage for survival, or maybe not? And how does that change and shape and mold populations to being that dynamic presence that they are? 10th unit, last but not least, so cool, favorite unit, ecology unit. So this is when we really look at the world as a whole. We look at our biosphere. We see interactions between large groups. We'll take a turn in looking at different environmental issues of our day. We'll talk about climate change. We'll talk about things that are really, really going to be important for your lifetime. All right, so that's kind of our year as a whole. Now, one thing you should know is that there's this thing that's going to happen at the end of the year called the Keystone exams. And this is your cue to roll your eyes and say, oh, standardized exam. It's fine. What you need to know going into this year is that I am absolutely confident that if you trust in this class, you trust in me as your instructor, I will prepare you to take these exams. And that if you work hard and you make choices to set yourself up for success, this Keystone exam is going to be a breeze. All right, so we'll work there together. I don't want you to have any anxiety over that. We will cross that bridge when we come to it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think it's important before we get too far into this class that you learn a little bit about this person standing in front of you. Sitting in front of you, not really in front of you, digitally in front of you. So what I want to do is just kind of share a little bit about myself. One of my biggest pet peeves, however, is when somebody goes to introduce themselves, excuse me, and they go on and on and on and on. And 15 minutes later, you are still listening to them explaining about themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce myself, but I'm going to introduce myself in 90 seconds or less. So what I want you to do is go ahead and take your cell phone. Yes, this is a teacher saying, take out your cell phone, turn on your timer app, and I want you to time me. All right. So I'm going to introduce myself in 90 seconds or less. Are you ready? New mark, get set, go. I went to Eastern York High School, which is right across the street. York Suburban, however, is my new proudest school because I bleed black and orange and they signed my paycheck. I went to Millersville University for my undergrad and St. Joe's for my master's degree. While you guys are in York, home of the White Rose, I live in Lancaster and love it, home of the Red Rose, the Amish, and the world's most delicious whoopie pies. I love Bear Grylls, all right? Man vs. Wild, favorite show. I was gonna marry him until I met my dreamboat of a husband named Ryan. He's so awesome and he's so cute, and he let me have a chemistry-themed wedding. You can see that's our periodic table of guests. How nerdy is that? Then we got a dog. It's a Bernese Mountain Dog crossed with a poodle. So it's a Bernepoodle. He has his own Instagram. He's him and him. He's so cute. He's so fluffy. I love him. He's the best dog in the world. Just maybe one more picture. There we go. So I love fly fishing. I'm really bad at it. I don't actually catch that many fish, but I like it. I'm obsessed with coffee. I raised honeybees for about 3 years until I realized I'm allergic and my hand swelled up like that. These are my favorite shows. We can talk about them whenever you want to. Honey badgers don't care. Purple Skittles are the worst flavor absolutely in the entire world. I love to ride horses, and I worked at a dude ranch in Colorado for a summer after college. I'm really bad at spelling. I like to travel outside of the US to gain perspective about the globe. I usually take a trip outside of the United States every year, but not this year because I'm a little bit pregnant and that's not a good idea. Mrs. Frizzle is my absolute idol, and I want to be her when I grow up. I love science, and that's really me. Nice to meet you guys. I will stop there. I hope I made under 90 seconds. I hope that you kept me honest and you kept me recorded, and that you can tell me whether or not I met that 90-second goal. I am so excited to meet you guys, whether it be over Zoom or whether it be in class. And I very much value getting to know a little bit about you guys as well. So over the next couple of weeks together, we're going to start learning science, but really we're going to start learning each other as well. I hope that you're excited, and I'm just so pumped to get started. See you soon, guys.